If you ever wonder what makes the universe tick, it's energy. This episode will give you a sneak peek into what it is and how it works. Today, we're going to dive in to help you be more aware of and take control of your own energy, as well as give you a better understanding of the energy around you. Let's start the conversation.
Hey, Mystics. If you're new here, welcome. And if you already know us, welcome back. I'm Susie Parker Goins.
I'm Kai Bertrand.
And I'm Lisa Stewart. Welcome to the Mystic Mosaic Podcast.
We're here to help clarify, illuminate, normalize, and encourage you as you develop your gifts so you can confidently build a sustainable lifestyle for you, your family, and even your career. Here's our disclaimer. We are providing information to you to use as a launching point for your own spiritual journey. We're not giving free readings or medical advice, and the information provided here is for educational purposes only. So we're talking about energy today. Let's talk about what it is. Anybody want to start?
Yeah, so it's not just metaphysical, it's also science. Einstein wrote, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, it's physics. So what is it? It could be crystals, animals, plants. There's lots of topics to delve into. So we're going to start. Let's start with yin and yang energy. So that is Chinese concept of the balance between light and dark. And, we use it in lots of different ways. And I mean, everybody's seen the symbology of the round circle with the circle in the circle and all that stuff. And what it signifies is balance between the two, because that's really what we're looking for. Like that is the ultimate in energy is balancing, having it be, not more one than the other. And then there's other different ways of looking at energy, such as the moon energy, like utilizing the energy of the moon phases to do different things. And Lisa's got a fantastic way to do that, and we're going to cover that in a little bit. Who wants to talk about universal reflection?
I'd be happy to.
Go ahead.
I think just initially, the one thing that everybody needs to remember is that the universe is a mirror. Life is reflecting you, right? So if you want love, then fill yourself up with love. And of course, this is not to be confused with trying to change somebody else. That's their choice. It's the metaphysical laws of the universe. Life is reflecting our energy and our vibration.
And I know of at least two examples where the concept of what you send out is what you receive. The Bible says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And in paganism, that's like what you send out comes back to you threefold. And that's found its way in different pop culture things. So, and isn't it true that people point out that as soon as they decide on a particular kind of car, then that's all they see. So they're sending out that and trying to manifest it, and it brings back to them. And we all have a personal energy signature, that energy field around us. You could call it an aura, energy. That's where you put in your protection in there, which we'll talk about later. And that's also when we get into the concept of discernment. If you're walking along and you feel something and it's like, wait a minute, is that mine or is it not? So learning how to clear that, which of course we'll cover later on. It's really imperative because you want to be able to travel about completely as your energy and not carry attachments or entities or somebody else's anger. Road rage is a really good example of that. Driving along, suddenly you're ticked off. Is that yours? If it's not, just send it up to the universe. Other big topics in energy are the chakras. Now, we always talk about the big seven, that Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. But depending on what you're looking at or what you're reading, we can have as many as 104, 108 to 144, and they're all over your body. And their health can be reflected in the physical health. A lot of issues will show up in your energy field, whether you have a leak in there or a hole in it. And if it doesn't get dealt with, it does tend to show up within the physical body. I remember, I guess it was like the 70s when science finally figured out that stress causes ulcers. If one could handle the stress beforehand, it would not be reflected in the body. So it is entirely possible that your energy field can be fixed, can be healed. I like that word better, can be healed before it does manifest physically.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. It's that, what I've always taught my students and what I learned from my teacher is that energy, disease of some kind actually starts as energy before it manifests as, physically in the body. And so it's something that, your energy field is resonating at that frequency that causes the disease to be attracted to it. And therefore that's how it burrows its way through the aura and then to the body. So it's absolutely agreements that we made before we came into this life, notwithstanding that,
Right.
Things can be prevented. Moving on to the next thing, which is, personal triggers in energy. And what that means is, so for instance, here's a story that I wrote a book and the main character has been sexually assaulted. And it's not, in the book, it doesn't describe it. It just refers to it and, and then carries on with the story. What I didn't know was that my editor at an earlier point in her life actually had been assaulted. She didn't tell me that. I didn't know that. So I sent her the book to edit, and she is usually pretty quick about it, and she didn't edit them very quickly. And I was like, what's going on? Like, what's taking you so long to edit this book? And then she finally told me that she couldn't read it because it would trigger the memories that she had from the assault. And I was like, why didn't you tell me? And that's the thing about energy, is that sometimes things can come at you that you don't expect, that you don't think about, because energy it's almost like an energy bomb that you're carrying around that you don't know anything about. And then something or someone will say something, do something, there's an incident that will happen and it will trigger something that's you're just like, I don't know where this came from, or I didn't realize it was going to have this kind of reaction. But it's energy that's stored. So it's something that we need to pay attention to if we're going to work with energy, like what triggers we might have and what triggers we might ignite in someone else by what we choose to do or what we choose to say or whatever. It's because it's all stored energy and you never know what's going to happen if you trigger something.
Yeah.
And
I'd agree with that. I was just going to say, for me, getting triggered almost feels like getting an electric shock from an electric fence. Have either of you been hit by an electric fence in your life? No.
No.
Twice. Boy, it makes you jump.
No, I went to Vegas is what I did.
Been there too. But yeah, just the whole.
That would went totally over my head. That's your trigger, is going to Vegas, or that was your response to a trigger was, God?
No, the going to Vegas was the getting the shock. Because what happened? Okay, quick story. I went to Vegas in October. Okay, I'm a person that, like, during the wintertime, electricity will arc to shock me. Like literally from metal cabinets and stuff. Like people have seen like the lightning come at me from stuff, right? So I went to Las Vegas in October, and it's like super, super dry and very, very cold, which means the static electricity is really high, right? I could touch nothing metal, nothing, not the doors. I couldn't even touch the elevator buttons. I couldn't touch any of the machines. My friends had to do everything for me, open all my doors, everything. I could touch nothing in Vegas. This was like the worst 4 days of my life because I could do almost nothing. I'd walk by something and it would shock me. So yeah.
Gotta wear your gloves.
I mean, like, this was way back when, the machine still took coins, right? So I'm literally holding the coin like this, putting it into the machine, not touching the machine. I got shocked through the quarter.
Jeez. Yikes.
So yeah,
Yikes.
me in Vegas in October, never again.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess this would probably be a good time or a bad time to tell you all that I was struck by lightning once. And the lightning followed me all weekend long. So I know a little bit about what you're talking about, Kai.
Okay, you
Just
win.
don't do things by halves, do you?
No, I'm all in, baby.
I'm in the background going, y'all go on and have that experience for me. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I'll share the lightning story at another time. Stay tuned, everyone.
So, yeah, talking about taking on energy, just like y'all do. Empaths, that's one of the, I think that's one of those double-edged swords when we come to talking about energy. An empath is somebody who either takes on the energy of everybody around them or feels the energy, and it's not limited to people energy. You can feel the energy or get the imprints from a place that's called geomancy. And then from things, which is psychometry, you can hold on to somebody's ring and find out information from them. That's a transference of energy. Being an empath, I have encountered those who said, no, I love being an empath. And then others who are totally dogged by it. And they're like, I'm tired of feeling everything. Being an empath it's a gift, but like I said, it can be a great thing, but it can also be so draining on you. So developing these techniques to help protect yourself so that it's only your energy. I feel we all travel a lot better through our lives when it's our energy. So we are comfortable in what we're doing and we can take those steps that we need to. Because, like I said, with road rage, you kind of go in there and all of a sudden you're all ticked off and it's added stress not only on your energy, but it's added stress on your body. And a lot of knee-jerk reactions happen that if you took the time to think it through, you could say, oh, that's not mine. Here, we're gonna like let that move on. And there are a lot of techniques you can use in which to do that. Do we have something else about empathics here? Go for it.
I do. Yeah. So who here's been to high school? Right?
My class ring gave me a rash.
Oh, well.
Which is reflective of how I felt about high school.
I think it's probably time to salt that ring. But yeah, I mean, walking through high school and you hear all the locker slam and you hear all the conversations. And if you're empathic and you have, the slightest ability of listening into the conversations that aren't being said, right? Gave me a headache the entire time I was in high school and also in college. But it wasn't until Kai's shielding course that taught me that I didn't have to absorb all of those energies. And I know it's like a big club for all of us. Like, oh, are you an empath? Yeah, I'm an empath. And recently I learned that's not a badge of honor. It's about taking care of your own energy. And so after taking Kai's course, I'm like, all right. My husband's like, let's go to IKEA. And I'm like, I don't want to go to IKEA. I don't like shopping. I don't want to go there. He's like, oh, come on, you want to go. Okay, fine. So he's driving and I'm shielding up. And I'm like, all right, let's do this. And usually within the first minute or two, I'm assaulted by babies crying and couples fighting and in-laws who are shopping and telling their kids what to buy, what not to buy. I walked through there about 10, 15 minutes and I didn't feel assaulted by all of that energy. And I was like, oh my God, I don't feel anything. This is wonderful. So yeah, shielding is everything. And so you don't have to be dogged by being an empath, and you'll soon learn that your own energy is a very pure form, and try to keep it that way.
I do that when I go into Costco. Usually my husband is that weekend warrior doing the grocery shopping and stuff, but I'll go with him into Costco. And the first time I went there, I started to get very anxious about it with that buy, buy, buy kind of energy about it. So I went, okay. And as I took time to sit with it, I went, I didn't shield. So I use a variety of methods to shield, whether it is putting myself in that hamster ball of God, as I call it, rolling around in my own energy ball, or I'll light language my way through the place. So there's just this woman walking around tunelessly humming or whatever. But yeah, man, that whole anxiety, I don't like that at all. I don't like that. So
Yeah, it's even worse when you try to go shopping during Christmas and people are like really
no.
anxious because they're trying to find the perfect thing, but we don't have enough money and yada yada. It's just yeah, it's like this insane amount of energy. So yeah, that's one of the things like before I learned to shield after I was like, I'm not going anywhere near the mall during Christmas. Not
Yep.
happening.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Online shopping. It's my favorite thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
even then though, like you can, especially um as it gets closer to Christmas, like you go to the website, you still feel that, oh my God, I can't believe I waited to the last minute and they're gonna kill me if I can't do this, and that's really too expensive. And like you still feel some of that anxiety, admittedly, not nearly as much, but
Yeah.
it's still there. It's
Yeah.
just crazy.
I
Well,
learned the importance of detachment when I don't know, it was 10 years ago when we had Snowmageddon up here in Seattle and everything was shut down. And my mother-in-law spent like $300 to get our Christmas packages up here and they couldn't get here on time. And she was so upset. So I got to set that boundary. I got to set the shielding and said, act of God, Ma. I don't know what I can tell you. And she was still livid, but
yeah.
that's her energy. She got to keep it.
Yeah. Yeah. And going back to the online shopping bit, half of that energy also is coming from the advertisers, right? It's coming from the big boxes who want you to feel that sense of anxiety and that FOMO and all of that. So, we talked back in Mystic Maker's Portal last week about setting intentions and the energy that you're setting to attract your customers, and that just goes hand in hand. So it's like, okay, shield up from all the advertisers who want us to buy now. Don't lose out. Don't last. Oh, especially when they go, there's 3 left. Oh, I better buy that. So it's like, oh, stop it.
Yeah, no, I always do because I am straight up, I'm an impulse buyer. Like I am. I will do it. So, when I go anywhere or if I'm shopping for something, I like the first thing I say to myself is get what you came for.
Mhm.
Like get what you came for.
Mhm.
That's it. Once you get what you came for, then you can look for whatever else if you want to, but get what you came for. And usually by the time I get what I went for, I don't need it. I'm like, I don't need anything else. Let's go. So,
Yeah.
so that's actually helped cut out a lot of that for me.
Yeah, I think my trepidation and anxiety goes up the moment we walk into a place like Costco. And if I haven't shielded, I'll say to Andrew, you know what? Let's just get what we came for. Let's not dick around. Let's just get what we came for. And he knows that moment. He's like, okay, we're not dickering around, and out. Because between that and the fact that he also is an impulse shopper and I'm the list, and I'm like, not on the list, not getting it. Then we
My
have to sit
son
there
is
and
the on the
discuss.
list guy. Yeah.
Then we have to
Yeah.
sit and talk about it and, discuss the pros and cons. And I'm like, I don't want to stand here in all of this having this discussion.
We've distilled it down to, do we really need this? And do we have some place to store it?
Mm-hmm.
That has saved us so much money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I go to Costco, I usually like have, like, okay, I'm gonna get this, I need this, I need this, I need that. Let's just run on the store, get it and get out. Because it's not so much being in the store that bothers me, it's like the standing in line. That's what kills me. That
That's a
I don't like waiting for stuff. I mean, like I will, but at the same time, it's like sometimes it just seems to take a long time to get through. So
and,
that's the part that I don't like.
and the lines have everybody else's energy there. And that can just kind of skyrocket and shift around. So
Yep.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And if people are anxious or they're angry or they're in a hurry or they're
Mhm.
just overheated because it's
Mhm.
warm or they're cold or
Mhm.
whatever,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like a collective that's sitting there that you're sitting in the middle of. It's this immersion of energy that isn't yours. And yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know what
Yeah.
I find fascinating about that is that there's more collective energy, residual energy that's at the self checkouts versus going through a line with a team member who's actually scanning your stuff in, because a couple of things
Hmm.
I think, and that is because of the pandemic, they've had to put up the acrylic between you and the belt, right?
Mhm.
And so it seems it's much more efficient and contained rather than that big hairball of everybody else's collective energy sitting there between the 4 or 6 self checkouts. Have you noticed that?
Well, it's I think it's partly that, but it's partly because when you do the self checkout, most people who go through the self checkout are not really confident with it. So there's a
Mhm.
lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
Like, am I doing this right? Like, I don't want to get this wrong. I don't want to get busted. Like, what if the alarm goes off? All that stuff is going through
Yep.
everybody's head, right? Where they're scanning all their stuff,
Yep.
and or they're just like, I need to hurry up. I need to get out of here because I gotta do this or that or the other, or whatever. So all that stuff, yeah, is just kind of left there. So, and it's just like an energy that's just kind of waiting there. And so, yeah, I have noticed that and it depends on the stores too. I mean, because I've been through some and it's like the self checkout's been fine. And other ones, it's like, yeah, there's like high anxiety on the thing. So I'm like,
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, but I always have my shield. So I'm like, I'm good. Yeah. All right.
I-
So yeah, so empaths, there's a lot to say about empaths. There's a lot of things to consider. Yeah, it is both blessing and curse because you can having empathic abilities allows you to gain information when you need it in terms of, I mean, like, if you feel like you're walking around a corner and you feel like something not good is around the corner, then you can actually make a different choice to go a different way. Um, and you can also, as a healer, that helps you kind of understand your clients a little bit better because you get some additional perspective. So it's helpful in that sense. But at the
Mhm.
same time, yeah, when you get overloaded, you're in a place where there's just too much competing energy, then that is discordant with your own. That can be very, very hard as an empath, which is why you need shields.
Exactly.
So continuing in the line of energy, we're going to touch on a few of the energy healing modalities. I mean, there's lots of things you can do with energy, and you're going to get to play with some exercises at the end of all this. So stick with us to the end. But yeah, we're going to talk just about a few energy healing modalities. Just if you're not familiar with them, you can Google them and look them up and get some more information on them. But these are the ones that we thought were interesting enough that you might want to take a look at. So Susie, you want to talk a little bit about pranic?
Yeah. Yeah. First off, I do have on my podcast on my website, it's searchable and you can look up the different energy healing modalities. I had an episode devoted to it. So I learned a lot about them, not enough to actually say I can do it, but among them is pranic healing, which was founded, I think in America, it was Stephen Coe. And it's a modality which if I remember right, you are using your non-dominant hand to call in the energies of the elements. So if you're outside, depending on what it is you want to heal, I read a lot of articles about people who said, yeah, I stubbed my toe and I just called in the pranic elemental energies and my thumb stopped bleeding and stuff like that. But it's a similar to a Buddha receive and project mudra. So you're receiving with your non-dominant hand and projecting with your dominant hand. But it calls on all the elements, which, it's what makes up. Those are the building blocks of our of spirit, of energy work is calling in earth and fire, air, and water. Good, I remembered them. I don't feel stupid. But um, a lot of these healing modalities require training or certification, and I find that a lot of this stuff I do intuitively. So that's the big thing for me is like when you're working with energy and the exercises that we're going to share with you at the end, this is not stuff you need to pay thousands of dollars or, spend months and months. It takes practice just to do it. And intention's a big part of that, which is a whole nother episode. But pranic healing, yeah, you can, Stephen Co. calling in the elements. Therapeutic touch is one that I've learned that nurses will use. And that is, again, using touch. It's pretty much about all I know about that one. It was
Using
founded
touch in
by
a
a nurse.
therapeutic way.
Yeah. But, and I, yeah, a lot of these were founded by like Therapeutic Touch. And there was another kind, I don't have my document up, but they were founded by nurses, say in the 80s, and it's really snowballed into something that is used. I did have an encounter with somebody in which I probably was free cycle, and she gave me her card, which said she did Therapeutic Touch. And I said, oh, yeah, that's like Reiki. And she said, but mine comes from source. Mine comes from God. And it's like all energy comes from source. So that's a big thing talking about energy is not having it come for yourself. So any of these modalities we're talking about, you're connecting with source and bringing it through because otherwise you're going to be totally wiped out. And then does anybody know more about theta healing than I do, which is about this much?
Yeah, I actually did go through the training for Theta Healing. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but I found it to be, I think it was Viana Stibal that started the whole
Mhm.
thing. And I liked the training. I did get several things out of it that were useful to me, but I don't adhere to it, religiously because some of the stuff just doesn't work for me. There's a lot of the techniques are kind of like pulling apart your beliefs like an onion one layer at a time. I'm way too impatient for that. So I kind of like used other like some of the techniques that are part of it I use as part of my healer's toolbox. And that's something that I would encourage other people to do. Like there are some people who follow a modality religiously. Like this is what I do, and I follow all the steps as they've been laid out to me, and I make no changes. And if that's how you need to function, knock yourself out. I, however, am a person who's like, oh, wait, I have this, but what if I paired these two together and that makes them both stronger together? So
Yeah.
I'm a pick this, grab that kind of person. I'm a a la carte kind of person is who I am. And so even though I took Theta Healing, I got my certificates and all that stuff, I don't do it in a traditional sense of how Theta Healing is done. But I would advocate that if you want to look at a really powerful way of dealing with belief systems and you are as patient as Job, go for Theta Healing, check it out, do the training. I mean, it's got a lot of good aspects to it. I would definitely recommend it. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is actually Reiki. And now, it originated in Japan and has been all over the world. There are millions of Reiki practitioners all over the world. And, most of the people I know are Reiki trained, at least in level 1, if nothing else. And so it's a good place to start. People refer to it as like, the gateway kind of thing to energy medicine. And it's a good one because it's gentle. It can do no harm. It works on every level. And every time that Reiki is sent to the client, whoever it is, a healing, a healing always occurs. It's either mental, physical, or spiritual. There's always something. And what's nice about Reiki is like you just send the energy to them and the person's own body makes a decision about where it heals, where it goes, what it does. So the only intention as a healer that you need to hold is that, you will channel whatever they need and then the Reiki will do the rest. There is some contention about, the lineage. It's a big thing about the lineages. And like this Reiki is better than that Reiki because we have more symbols and, we blah, blah, blah. There are literally hundreds of, offshoots from the original who say, well, I'm the person that was selected to, be the next person in line and blah, blah, blah. You're welcome to delve into that if you want to. For me, it's like energy is energy. Intention drives everything. So, tomato, tomato. That's the way I look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
About 10 years ago, 10 has been 10, 15 years ago when I first became Reiki, I was out there doing the newbie thing and trying to get as many attunements as I could. So there were some days I was taking 3 at a time, which is not allowing for the energy to settle. But I found a page that had over 1,000 of them. And then there's this one brand of Reiki that you had to pay thousands of dollars to get into. And so this other um, contingent said, we don't want to do that, so we'll rechannel the energy. So even then, there's some kind of level of ego going on with these different flavors of Reiki.
Oh,
But,
hold on.
like,
Hold on.
uh-huh.
I thought there was only one Reiki. Is there more than one Reiki out there?
There's like Dragon Reiki and Lightarian Reiki, and there are empowerments. There's a gentleman in, I think I know he's in Great Britain, but he does empowerments with different saints, and people have their elemental Reiki and this and that. They're all aspects of Reiki.
Hmm.
But as we've said, Kai reiterated it just now, everything is energy.
Right.
So if you're learning to play with energy, to work with energy and have that intention behind it, I would posit, do we really need Reiki? Because there are certificates involved. So is that a question of having a piece of ego paper on the wall, or can you just continue to work with energy? I am Reiki attuned. Okay. I don't teach it because I don't have that lineage. In a very un-Reiki fit of peak, I tossed all my stuff out. And so if I wanted to go in alignment and be respectful of those general Reiki, what is it? The International Association of Reiki Practitioners, they have these guidelines you follow. And again, like, you can go in and set your intention and do the clearing and activate all the chakras and stuff like that. Or like me, I'm just like, I'll set my intention and send the Reiki. I don't teach it out of respect for them, but I certainly could teach you energy healing. We all could. It's just what are we looking at? Are we going to be rogue Reiki? Because I'm more like flaky Reiki, if you think about it, because I forget to do stuff all the time. It's energy healing. It's all energy. Like we said at the top of the episode, it's all energy. And where you direct your energy is how you're going to manifest your results. So I'm not saying no Reiki or all Reiki. I think Kai is saying it too, that you do what works for you.
Yeah, it sounds like it's energy raking through innovation.
Yeah, well, it's because like there was a big deal about who the successor was and all this other stuff, and then other people were like, well, yeah, I don't really want to do that, so I'm gonna channel my own,
Yeah.
symbols and yada yada yada, and and so at this point it's kind of, it's like the Wild West in a lot of ways, and there are, people who charge like nothing for them, for the attunements, and other people who charge tens of thousands of dollars for them. And I've never been a big advocate of that. When I was teaching, like currently I'm not teaching, and it's not because I can't teach, it's because I choose not to. Because again, I'm not a traditional Reiki user person. And Reiki at this point for me, I don't want to teach it. It's boring for me. Not because it's not valuable, but because like I don't find enjoyment in it. Like my thing is,
That's
I
key.
take the advanced students of Reiki, like the ones who, not the, oh, I'm taking this as a hobby kind of person, or maybe I'll do it once in a while kind of person. I like to teach people who energy healer is who I am and who I will be for the rest of my life. Those are the people that I want to teach.
Yeah.
And so what I do with those people is then I then teach them advanced skills.
Yeah. And even when Reiki was introduced to the States, there was controversy around that because, from what I understand, it was originally intended to stay in Japan. But then a woman from Hawaii came over, she stayed there, she got one and two and brought it back over, and her daughter spread it across. And that, I mean, even from the beginning, there's controversy surrounding it. It's energy healing, and that's all I care about is that it's there to help. And coming from source, I'm good. Yeah. I don't think you can misuse it.
No, you
Can
can't
you?
misuse Reiki. The only thing though is I've heard people say like, well, I don't really need it or whatever, to do it. And I was like, well, you don't really need it. But what you do need to pay attention to is there's a difference between channeling universal energy, universal love, and channeling your own.
Yeah.
You never, ever want to channel your own energy because number
Right.
one, your energy by itself is not clean.
Mhm.
And it cannot be clean because we're human. We have negative, positive, we have our own issues, we have our own energy blocks, we have our own issues. So do you really want to pass it on to somebody else or possibly have somebody else pass their stuff to you? I don't think so. Right? So any kind of energy training, whether it be Reiki or Theta Healing, pranic healing, whatever it is, it teaches you how to channel and how to make the connection to the purest energy that you can access. And with Reiki, the whole purpose of the attunement is so that your body, your energy body becomes more capable of handling a greater amount of energy to channel. So for me, I think that that's why I advocate for Reiki, because if nothing else, you have that base knowledge. So once you can channel pure energy, then you don't really need to do all the formal stuff that goes with it. You just need the ability to make sure that the channel is clear so that you can pull in the cleanest, clearest energy you can to be able to send it to your clients or whoever you're working on.
I think the benefit of the way Reiki is taught, the 1, 2, 3 levels, is that one is focused on healing the self first. And as a healer, and I feel any healer who's willing to look at their own stuff first is going to be, they'll have that experiential base so that they can say, okay, this is what's happened to me. I have found there are practitioners who are more than happy to jump into your energy and not, and first off, without your permission, and secondly, without making sure their energy is clear. So I feel like a practitioner does need to look at their own stuff and deal with it and do their own healing. And then level 2 is about helping other people. And then 3 is about teaching it. I know there used to be, I don't know if it's still around, but there was a website on Yahoo groups that's been dead for a while, but they sent out the attunements, all 3 of them, 9 o'clock p.m. local time every Monday. So you could take in the attunements and they left it up to you to do the research. And there are actually more and more books out there about what Reiki is and how to use it. But I do believe I absolutely agree 100% with Kai. It's like, it's got to be universal energy. Because
Yeah.
if it's your energy, not only is it kind of sticky and oogie, you're also exhausted at the end of it because you've given all your energy to somebody else and therefore you're giving your power over to somebody else. That's not okay.
Yeah, and and when you do that, you leave yourself open to, disease.
Mhm.
You leave yourself open for getting sick and getting, not to mention, if you expended all your energy helping another person clear something, and if that energy is not completely cleared, now you have the resonance of that, whatever that is that you've tried to take off on your client. You've now left the door open for it to move to your house.
It's
It's
like
like
dirty water. Yeah.
pretty much, pretty much.
I see it as energetic backwash. If you're
Yeah.
using your own,
Yeah,
it's going to
yeah.
backwash and it's like, blah,
Yeah, and the other thing is, when you channel clear energy, that helps clear the channel. So it's like you don't, and then, as an energy healer, you need to do clearing of yourself repeatedly or, regularly or, as needed, whatever. But, be sensitive to that, because that would, to me, that would be like drinking clean water from a dirty cup. Like, you wouldn't do that, right? That's essentially what that is. So part of the being an energy healer is not just accessing universal energy, it's also making sure that the vessel is clear as well.
Definitely. And I'm looking forward to taking Reiki. And oh, by the way, kids, it's not Reiki, it's Reiki.
I didn't flinch when you said it that way. I'm so proud of myself.
I was corrected by Phyllis. Lisa, it's not Reiki, it's Reiki. I'm like, okay, it's Reiki. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that I am looking forward to taking Reiki so that way later on I can learn some kahuna energy channeling as well one day if Kai will allow it. Sorry, Susie. What were you going to say?
Well, I'll chime in with that too. I'd love to learn whatever I can from any of y'all. But no, Kai brought up resonances, and so I can I think I have a clue about how to do that. But Kai, if you could explain, if you could elaborate on all that frequency, vibration, resonance, that sort of thing, I'd love to hear it. Please.
Sure. Well, this is kind of an advanced thing, again, because I like to teach advanced students. So one of the things that I will teach them about is, frequencies, vibrations, and the importance of resonance. Because when you're looking at, disease, right? First, like I said, your body needs to resonate at the same frequency that will draw something to you that will then manifest, dig its way through your energy field, and then manifest physically in your body. That's how that works. And so if you can work with energy enough that you can modulate the frequency of your energy field, of your aura, you can actually heal things about yourself. So for instance, I did this experiment in a group. I was giving a talk and I said, let's just try this. I'm not sure if it would work, but let's just give it a shot. What I did is I connected to the universe and I said, allow me to channel the frequency of energy that will heal something in this, like heal the bulk of whatever's happening in this room. And then what I asked the participants to do was to just observe their bodies and see where they feel it, if they feel it, and what reactions they were getting. And so I basically just, I said, okay, just go ahead and whatever it is, just send it. And I just channeled this frequency and I sent it out to the room. And, and people were like, I would see eyes widen because it was like they actually felt something in their bodies. Like one guy's like, yeah, I feel that in my back. This other lady's like, it feels like it's in my liver or whatever. And then I had this one person who's been having trouble with her shielding in terms of when she's trying to work with Reiki, she has an energy block. She goes, I felt the energy block vibrate like it was starting to crack on that. And so when you're talking about frequencies, there's a spectrum, right? So universal energy is like really high, right? So if you're looking at the spectrum like this, it's like up here. Earth energy is like way down here. And Reiki is probably like about here on the spectrum. And there's most healing modalities are kind of in this area here. But our energy is kind of like down here. And if it's not clean, it's just not good. But there are times when you want to use earth energy. So for someone who's or earth-like energy, like that super grounding energy, which we're going to talk about grounding afterwards, because like someone is, say, like they do a lot of meditating, they do a lot of energy work. What happens is it raises their vibration so much that sometimes they actually like leave their body to a certain degree. And I had a friend who did that. Like she worked so hard on her spiritual stuff, but she didn't ground. So she kept getting these monster headaches and she was like lightheaded all the time. And I'd look at her and I'd say, sweetie, it's because you're half out of your body from the top of your head. And so I helped her to ground back in, and she was like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better, because we have to do that. We are comprised of both heaven and earth. We are in the middle and we must stay in the middle. That's that whole yin yang balance thing. So some people are like, I must be lofty and raise my vibration and blah blah blah, and I'm like, you're not gonna fly away, baby. You're in a body. It's not happening. Like, ground your feet and do what you need to do, but you need to come back, because that's just how we are.
Everything's a cycle.
Yeah, so that's the thing about frequencies. It's like, once you get to the point where you can focus, where you can feel the subtleties in the energies, then you can, like when you come across like an energy block. This is one of the things that I teach as an advanced thing, is I teach people how to scan to find energy blocks. So once you like resonate with an energy block, then what you do is you find a frequency that will crack it open. And then you send that particular frequency to crack it, to break it up.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Cool.
So yeah. And then there are times when people are like, well, do I have an energy block? And I'm like, well, let me see. And what I'll do is like, okay, I'm gonna find the frequency and resonate with it and see if you can find it. I do this with cords too. I did it just yesterday with a guy who was like, you mean I have a cord attached to me? I'm like, yeah, you want to feel where it is? And he's like, yeah. So I resonated at the same thing and magnified it, amplified it. And he was like, oh my God. I was like, whoop, there it is. So, again, this is all advanced stuff. You have to be super sensitive to energy before you can get anywhere near that kind of work. But that's where I like to play. That's the fun stuff for me.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is another.
Before you move on, Kai, can I just add something in that?
Yeah.
After getting to know both you and Susie over time, I now at one point felt when an energy cord was actually being attached to me. I'm like, what the? Oh, no, you didn't. And I'm like, okay, clear. But yeah, I could actually feel it. I'm like, holy smoke. So yeah, I'm becoming more sensitive, which is exciting. But yeah, so thank you for like kind of sharing.
Yeah,
and
no,
showing.
and that's the thing. Like, that's why it's important to know what's mine, what's not mine, so that when something attaches to you, right away.
Being able to incorporate that into your daily life is just, it shifts so much.
Every morning.
I don't think that means we're all like, I don't think that means we're all like, no, I trust spirit. I mean, you've got to use intellect in there too,
But but there are people like that, and we're going to talk about that in the next episode. I was like, dude.
Right.
That's one of those things. God's going to get me a job. God's not opening up those apps so you can go and look there, dude. You got to go and do this. So yeah.
Spirit's not going to do it for you. But I mean, you bring up a really good point, and that is, I'm getting to know my spirit guides. I'm getting to realize that there are angels around us and all kinds of other really great entities who want to help us. But at the same time, they're not going to do it for you. So you have to be cognizant, and you have to then ask for their help. Just because they're standing there, it's kind of like, well, what are you going to do about it now? Right? It's like, well, aren't you here? Aren't you here to help me? Well, you've got to ask, and you've got to go through the motions to facilitate that. And that's what I'm learning. So I appreciate you both for that.
Yeah, there's still physical action that's required. I mean, like, the universe will step up and do what it can, but it's like you have to be willing to do your part as well. It's like nothing's going to be handed to you on a silver platter. Although, there are instances when things can be handed to you on a silver platter, but it's not, in other words, like, you take your chances. It's if you really want it to happen, then move forward, with faith and do your part.
And sometimes that silver platter, I feel like I'm about to be profound. Sometimes that silver platter is forged in effort.
Yeah. Like that gift that you brought with you. Like I don't know about you, and I don't want to go off tangent here, but I know that I have this gift about volume, as in liquid quantity. I'm that person that can put out 4 wine glasses, and with one bottle, I can pour evenly all 4 of those glasses. Now, don't
I
ask
would
me
just
about
drink from the
distance.
bottle, but
Well, there's that, right? Don't ask me about distance, but I don't know if I was Euclid in a former life, but yeah, for whatever reason, I've got this. It wasn't Euclid. Euclid was the one who created geometry. Who was the one who learned how to he used water dispersion to calculate
Archimedes.
currency. Thank you.
Archimedes.
Thank you. So yeah, don't know if I was Archimedes in a prior life, but yeah, I got liquid down to a snap. So anyway.
See, now I'm adding to the topics list.
Archimedes or our talents.
So another thing about another modality that I wanted to mention really quick is quantum touch, which is in my view, it's kind of like energy chiropractic, because it actually moves bones, so it can align your shoulders and your hips and straighten your spine and all that. Quick story on that is I went to a senior center to give a talk on it, and there was a woman with a pretty good curvature in her spine, from the middle of her back to her neck. She had a little bit of a hump, and while the person who was there presenting was actually talking, I was doing the physical demonstration. And so I worked on her for probably about 10 minutes or so. And after I got done with her, she actually stood up a little bit straighter. Like everybody watched her like literally straighten up. And so it was really, that was, I mean, I had seen it before in other, but every mouth in the room dropped open. They were like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah.
That's heartwarming.
Yeah. So
That's
quantum touch is
awesome.
another one and they also have a technique that's part of that to ramp up your ability to heal, which is pulling your external chakras that are normally live outside your body and pull them into your body and spin them all at the same time, which ramps up your ability to channel energy. I mean, like to the point where like whenever I do it, I'm like sweating. I pull in so much energy, and then when you work on a person with that much energy potential rolling at the same time, it really focuses your ability and ramps up the energy. So again, that's part of quantum touch, and that is a technique that I will use for different circumstances depending on what's going on. So if I have a particularly tough case, then I will do that with myself, and I will actually do that with the client. So then that way the both of us pulling in all this extra energy will help take care of whatever it is.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating. Kai, I just wanted to go back and touch on the story that you were sharing when you were sitting in the middle of a group and you were talking about channeling energy to see if the students felt where they felt it in their body. And I didn't want to interrupt you, but I'm like, oh my God, my whole body. I don't know if you were sending out, maybe involuntarily sending out energy, but I felt my whole body when you were talking about that just started tingling. And I'm like, is this coincidence or isn't it?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, sometimes when I get excited about something, I tend to do that. So yeah, because I'm actually a little warm. So yeah, I did, like, I sent out something, that's for sure. Because I'm actually kind of hot right now. So yeah.
I'm getting warm too. So I wonder, it's just, again, that empath trying to feel what is it I'm sensing and not gaslighting myself out of thinking that what I'm feeling is correct. So
yeah, no, that's legit. Did you feel anything, Susie?
I'm just over here going, my feet are cold. And it's like, man, I feel like I missed out because there are just times I'm clueless. Like every time you say, Susie, you've got this entity, I was like, what? Dude.
Well, you do have your shield up. I do feel that. So, so maybe that's why you didn't feel it.
Yeah, sure. That's a good, sure, I'll stick with that.
Susie, she's got a point because I didn't shield up before I came on.
Yeah, because I
know
don't
why
have
I'm
a shield
shielding
on
around
right now
y'all.
because I don't need it. I'm at home, so it's fine. So yeah, but I do feel you have a little bit of a shield up, so maybe that's why you didn't feel it. So yeah, it could be that it's not a moment of you being oblivious. It's just your energy shield doing what it's supposed to do.
I don't know why I'm shielded around y'all.
So I don't
Probably
know if I will keep.
reflex.
I don't know if I'm going to keep this in the podcast or not, but I do have a question, and that is when we're talking about how, like, I haven't shielded up. Kai, you talked about you haven't shielded up because you're in your home. We're all in our respective homes.
Mhm.
Susie did the right thing by shielding up. Let's get this done. And I
Well, my
usually do.
house, my property is shielded.
Yeah,
Good for
mine
you.
too. And but for you though, it might just be reflex, because I mean there are
Yeah.
times when when I'm at home, like my shield will go up and I'll feel it go up. And then something will happen and I'm like, okay, that's why it went up.
Oh, so
So
I can't wait to talk about why that happens. But before we get into that, I wanted to touch on the yin and yang as well as the lunar cycle before we move into the next phase. You guys okay with that?
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
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 Okay, cool.
Energy comes from all sources and it can focus on, the planets. How many, like the whole universe is in retrograde now. It seems like, I mean, so many planets. And so they do have an impact on energy. So yeah, the
Yeah.
moon, lunar cycles, absolutely. Let's do it.
Yeah. So I just want to touch on yin and yang first because it'll lead into the lunar cycle. But I also have learned that the yin and yang is referred to as qi, right? So the
Mhm.
East Asian cultures believe that this is a vital force that forms every living entity. I believe this too because I believe energy runs through all of us. I have for a very long time, and I was always that odd kid going, "Wait, you believe in what?" And I'm like, "Mm-hmm." So the yin refers to the dark force of nature and it's very receptive. And the yang refers to the light force of nature, right? It's very active and it's seen in all forms of duality, differences, and physical manifestations. So, the light and the dark, the fire and the water, expanding, contracting. Also, the annual cycles, winter and summer, as well as landscapes like north facing shade versus south facing brightness. And of course, everything, such as humans, animals, plants, we all have light and dark force within us. So the sun and moon, represented by the yin and yang polarity, sun being yang and the moon being yin. And of course, each of these astrological objects experience their own version of yin and yang. Would you agree?
Yeah, and it also, represents male and female as well.
Exactly. Exactly. Which I
Mhm.
wanted to say and just completely blanked out on that.
So it's also, male and female. Actually, a friend of mine questioned the gendered aspects of it, but it is that receptive and projecting side. So yeah, light, shadow, do or not do. So that sounds very Yoda. But yeah,
Feminine,
definitely it's
masculine.
about balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when you're touching on Star Wars, right, and Yoda, it's really interesting. I think somebody actually did a side by side comparison of spirituality and the Force, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're a bunch of Jedi walking around here. And I've got a jacket up there that's it's like a short Asian kimono. So I people say I look very Jedi when I wear my tall boots and my belt. Yeah. Anyhow, so I wanted to move into the lunar cycle. This is one of my favorite topics, but I'll be brief. The lunar cycle represents a massive resource of untapped nature based energy. So, when I teach clients how to work with the moon is essentially a structure to leverage the yin and the yang energies, the masculine and the feminine energies. So, when we pay attention to the lunar cycle, this helps us to harness the ease and flow in our lives as well as our business. We can leverage these energy shifts to our benefit. The key, of course, is to harmonize the energy shifts to help you recharge and recalibrate your energy so that it's in alignment and then the universal energies are flowing all around you because they are anyway. But, it's kind of like go with the flow, right? So, for instance, let's talk about the high level concept of yin and yang as it refers to the moon. And of course, it's about maximizing as each energy aspect occurs. So, there's a time and place for the masculine mode of working. That's the yang energy, just as there is a time for you to allow your intuition during the yin stages to help you guide your business. It's a lot like flowing on a current in a river, right? So let me ask you, if you're riding on a strong current, would you risk turning around and swimming against it? No, right? You risk struggling for hours and you risk hurting yourself. So what I like to say is if you've missed your destination and you're riding in a strong current, just keep going around. And once you hit your bank of destination, then get out and do your thing, because it's just a matter of knowing that it's going to bring you back around again anyhow. So that's what working with the moon is like. So the yang energy happens in 4 major moon cycles. That's your new moon, your full moon, and the quarter moons. And of course, the yin energy, this happens through the 4 minor cycles. These are the waxing and waning aspects of the moon. The yang energy, it's active. It allows you to take bold action. So this is when you're highly active in your life and even in your business. You're actively participating in public and community. I know it's tough for some of us, but it's beneficial. Hosting or attending parties, and even taking your screaming goats out for a ride on the Rainbow Bridge. Have you guys watched the latest Thor Love and Thunder movie yet? Okay, you'll know what I'm talking about when you do watch it. And of course, the yin energy, this allows you to incubate. This allows you to experience your own dormancy and then tap your intuition. And of course, you want to go one level deeper. If you've got that high level energy mastered and you want to go one level deeper, consider tapping into the zodiac essence during each moon phase, the new and the full moons precisely. So like the Gemini phase, right? If the new moon or the full moon is in Gemini phase, you could think about your next adventure to discover new information, or how you could think about using persuasive communication. Leo phase, right? They're the very showy kind of people. They're all about glam. So you could think about how you could create a showy, over the top event for your customers. So that's one way to kind of apply that energy with intention. That's a lot of fun. So when you are aware of the energy phases, right, you become more present and connected with the natural rhythms of your body, your mind, and even your environment. And if you're totally depleted from stress and overwork, knowing when and where to switch your energy will return you to a place of calm and serenity. So the next time you shame yourself for procrastination, look at the calendar to see what phase the moon is in. You might be capitalizing on a minor moon phase.
So planning for the moon, knowing what phase it's in, I'm always like, I don't know. I could barely know like full or new moons, but there are apps out there that we can use. And don't you have one, Lisa? A planner?
I do. I have a digital
Haven't you
planner. Thank you,
developed it?
Susie. I
Okay,
do. Yeah.
sure.
My digital moon phase calendar is a manifesting planner with integrated oracle and tarot spreadsheets. It helps me to maximize the ebb and flow of the moon in my life and business. Just in time for the new moon, the digital moon phase planner contains vision planning at the start of each month so that I can keep track of my manifesting. As I plan my month, let it be for making dinner or business events, I can access the moon phase planner sheets. I've designed it so that each month has a dedicated moon planner so that I can get a head start for upcoming special events or seasons on the wheel. I'd love for you to check out the all-in-one 2023 moon phase planners for both personal and business. For more information, head to co-createmagic.com. Thanks.
Oh.
Energy healing through innovation.
Feels like it needs to have a tune to go with it. Da-da-na-na-na-na-na.
Okay, let's talk about grounding. What is
I was
grounding?
about to say, with all of this talk about energy and, people who are so psychically inclined, because I have to say it like a Southerner,
Oh, please don't.
who has the sight,
Who's
it's
been
easy to
touched?
yeah. Um, it's easy to fly out of the body. I do that in sessions a lot. So there are a lot of methods we can use to maintain it, and we have touched on grounding several times. And let's dive deeper into that, like what it is and how to do it, why, and all that stuff. So, who wants to take those?
I just want to ask, as the noob, I should ask, what is grounding?
It's anchoring your energy field in the earth.
Ah, awesome. Centering.
Exactly. So, why do we need the ground? Well, I just mentioned one reason. It's like, when you do a lot of work with energy, like sometimes what happens is your energy body wants to go up. It wants to stay in that vibration, but our physical bodies can't handle that. So we can get sick, we can get lightheaded, we can get dizzy. Like one person I worked with almost passed out, and I was like, oh, grounding, grounding, grounding.
Yeah.
Um,
But
you know,
let me ask, if I'm new to this, or even if I'm unaware, but I'm kind of I happen across this video and I'm like, what does it mean to me and why does it matter to me in my regular life?
well, grounding is important because we are dependent on the earth for everything.
Right.
Earth, I mean, for the air, food, water, like our entire existence depends upon the earth.
Right.
So it behooves us to be connected to that energy so that we can actually, you know, understand when, or have a sense of when things are in trouble, and then maybe do something to, which is why some people actively send energy to the earth. That's why people find different ways, like they plant trees and they go pick up garbage or whatever it is, like however they choose to channel that energy to assist the earth so that it can continue to sustain us.
Gotcha.
So as a regular
Yeah.
person, it behooves us to be energetically connected to the thing upon which our survival depends.
Right.
And there are a lot of emotions that are attached to that could be correlated with being ungrounded. Like somebody comes in and they're anxious or they're scattered. They can't focus on something. You can use grounding techniques, whether it's breath work or visualization or whatever it is, to actually help. It helps you to focus and to get back into that body thing. So, like you're going into a test, whether it's academic or medical or whatever. I know there were times I felt anxious, so I had to use a lot of breathing, and I feel that I would have been a lot more effective if I had used the basic grounding techniques of connecting with Earth. It also helps with everybody loves to talk about manifestation, but when you're grounded and attached to the earth, you can make these things happen because, as Kai said, Mother Earth provides everything we need. She
Mhm.
gives us all the tools, all the implements, all the elements we need to survive and therefore and then thrive, and we can make our lives happen the way, well, in a more conscious way. I had something else and I brain farted on it.
So
Oh, well, go ahead.
I'll let you think on that for a sec. So if I'm hearing you correctly, that if I want to take a test, and I know that we're going to talk about this a little bit later, like maybe breath work and things like that. And I'm not saying that's artificial grounding, but I've heard of foresting and getting out and actually camping or hiking or just taking a daily walk to get back in touch with Mother Earth and things like that. So there are ways then to pull the outside in, right?
Yeah, there's also something called earthing. And that's when you spend 15 minutes barefoot outside. It's cold and my feet hurt all the time, so I may not do that. There are also grounding mats where you have to have a proper outlet, but that allows also not only for you to feel in your body, but oh, there's something to do with the electrical stuff. Oh man, I forgot it again. Oh, I
Well,
feel
how
like
about
I'm chasing these butterflies. How about I ground?
okay, but
There's a thought.
can if so let's say if your feet are cold, could you just like soak your feet in a pan of warm water to help ground? Would that be appropriate?
Um, I don't think so. I think maybe salt water, like Epsom
Okay.
salts, would be helpful. And you
Okay.
can use crystals and stuff, but not everybody buys into the crystal energetic thing. But actually, touching the earth is good, but there are other ways because I can't go outside to do it all the time. I use a lot of visualizations to ground,
Okay.
Yeah, well,
and those are
sometimes
valid.
it's as simple as, if you happen to be outside, you don't necessarily have to put your feet on the ground. You can actually just touch a tree, and that will help you ground as well.
Okay.
So if you're outside, you could just, even if it's cold, you take your glove off for a minute, touch a tree, just kind of hang out for a bit until you feel that sinking in, and then, snatch your hand back, put your glove on, and off you go. The whole concept of earthing cracks me up. it cracks me up because,
Yeah.
I grew up in Hawaii. I was barefoot walking around all the time.
Yep.
So this thing, like, it's a thing. I'm like, no, in Hawaii, that was just living. Like,
Yeah.
It's living.
Yeah.
Well, that's the culture. I mean, you can do that. I grew up in Texas and I walked around barefoot, so I had calluses really thick. And then asphalt in the summer, you learned a whole lot about how the elves walked across everything without touching the ground. It's like, and
Yeah.
and I did the same thing. I walked across
Yep.
asphalt and stuff, but I had sand and grass. But yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
funny that there's a term for it.
it's marketable. There's a
Yeah.
lot of things that are marketable, and that's what I like about this. What we're doing here is that it's like, dude, we can throw out the words, but this is stuff you can do on your own
Yeah. And
because
that
you don't
that
have to
was the
buy
whole
and
reason.
call
Yeah. That's the whole reason for the question, because if folks aren't, they might know about intuition and they've heard a few ghost stories, but that's really about it. But the idea of being able to do something so mundane as touch a tree, right, to help with the grounding, and then getting into earthing. So that would be another topic,
Yeah.
having
another
that
episode, I think.
thesaurus of spirituality. We can call it all kinds of things, and something's
Mhm.
going to come along and somebody will go, oh, I get it now. So
Mhm.
that's the beauty of having the spectrum of experience. So we can tell our stories about this and say, this is what happened to me. Because, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing when she was doing the energy thing. I'm just over here going doop, 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 doop. So it's going to happen with somebody else. And
Yeah.
that's the point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing about grounding, and just like another technique, if you don't, like, if you feel weird walking through the park and just like walking through, or like touching a tree kind of thing, just lean against it.
Mhm.
I had There was a woman who had shown up at a psychic fair who was just like overwhelmed with grief, like couldn't speak because she was just so overwhelmed with grief. And
Aw.
where we were happened to be like in the middle of a park. So I told her, I said, go outside, go find a tree that you like, and just lean against it or put your hands on it, and just like bawl your eyes out until you're done. And in other words, like, allow the tree to kind of take that away from you, and because it can take that kind of energy and ground it and give it to the earth so it can be used for something else.
Yeah.
And allow the energy of the tree to soothe you. And and I saw her later on in the day. She's like, I went outside and I did that. And she goes, and I do feel better. She goes, I didn't think I would. She goes, but I had to try it because I'm like overwhelmed with how I feel. And I was like, she goes, but yeah, now I feel better, and I feel like I can breathe a bit. And I said, yeah, and that's
Oh,
really
nice.
what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You're
And
looking just for an
Earth,
opportunity to breathe.
and the Earth is a master. Mother Earth is a master at composting and transmuting things. There are some folks I've encountered who said, "Oh, but I don't want to hurt anything." It's like, no, 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 you don't get it. This is what Mother Earth is here for. She stabilizes us and provides us that foundation, and she transmutes so much. She can take those old kitchen scraps and turn it into fertile soil. So if you don't need it, let her take it on. That's another amazing thing, that clearing aspect of grounding. Yeah. So well
Yeah.
done. Well done on
Yeah.
her for letting it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and the thing is, people are, going back to that thing about, what if I, send this negative energy to earth, and, something happens. I was like, sweetie, like, every winter, everything goes to sleep. Where do you think that energy comes from?
Yeah.
Like, she takes, and then she uses other energy to make things grow. It's like, she can, like, don't worry about hurting her. It's not going to happen. Like, she's taking whatever energy based on whatever intention, whatever emotions, or whatever, and she's putting it to perfect use somewhere on the planet. So you don't have to think about that. She's got her system all worked out. She does not need you to micromanage it. She's got it.
Yeah.
And even
Yeah.
the earth takes that winter out, those winter time to rest.
Yeah.
And to plan and to do the new things. I mean, she clears out the earth in so many different ways. It's amazing to watch.
Yeah, and
One
you
of
can, and it shifts the energy. So when it's winter here, it's somewhere someplace else. So she's like, it's almost like
Yep.
she's like, okay, like,
Yep.
you sleep here, we're working over here now.
Yeah,
Just
I
like,
was just about to say that. Yeah, but one of my favorite things that I loved to do as a kid, running around barefoot, of course, down by the river, there was a collection of trees where I could lay on my back and just watch the trees talk to each other and the wind coming through, and just the leaves were all just integrating and being interconnected. And I could just sit there for hours just
Mhm.
watching and listening. It was absolutely amazing. But Susie, don't you
Yes.
talk don't you talk to Mother Gaia?
Yes. Mother Gaia frequently embodies through me. Yeah, so I've got more on my website. I've got the podcast page, and it's got a searchable database on there, so you can look up Gaia or grounding or any of these other things. I've got over, well, I guess now I can say I have like over 200 episodes that you can search for and
And
find anything you want.
what is your domain name, Susie?
The website is bluelightninghealing.com,
Thank you.
and that's where you'll find everything about me there.
How do you know when you're grounded?
you actually feel it because you can tell when, if you're walking around and you can't, your thoughts are scattered and you can't figure out what you're doing and you're like, you're basically walking around in circles kind of deal. That means you're not grounded.
Okay.
But it
Yeah.
also, when you are grounded, you're not necessarily feeling heavier or denser. It's a different quality of energy about it to where you can focus or have that determination. Determination sounds really fierce, but you've got that focus clarity. That's the word. You've got more clarity about what it is you're trying to do right now.
Yeah, it's like
So
it
those,
just it allows you to just, like fix your direction, so to speak,
yeah.
versus, like shooting in the dark. Like maybe it's this, maybe it's that, like when you're grounded, you can actually see what the obvious choice is and where to go.
When I ground, that a lot of that heaviness and that weightiness that I might be feeling gets transmuted, and I'm almost feeling like a little lighter in the shoe, right? A little lighter in the step. And then suddenly I have this ability to intuit again, to use my intuition. So it's, I think, also transmuting any fear or an anxiety that I might have, that allows me that clarity and just that lightness of being that says, okay, spirit, what's next? Right. And then,
Yeah,
It
yeah.
does. It clears a lot of that extra chatter out.
Yep, it does.
that's awesome. That's, yeah, I wanted to be able to articulate that so that our viewers would understand the consequences of not using it and what it does when you do implement that in your own daily life. So thank you
Mhm.
for that. And then if you're not outside grounding, and what are some of the inside methods that we can use to ground?
Well, physically, there are things called mudras, which is, I think some of them are Vedic, but they are hand positions in which you can set your hands that help you feel grounded. Some are some have been spelled out, but I feel that the hands, because they are part of you and they're doing the things and they help you focus your energy, if you can find your hand falling into a position that works for you. For me, my left hand invariably will have the thumb in between the middle and the ring finger, and it feels very calming to me. So you can play with this and figure it out. There are two-handed mudras. I use one when I am working with clients, is the non-dominant hand receives, because when we were talking about yin yang, the non-dominant receives and the dominant projects, but it could be something related to that, whether you're interlacing your fingers in such a way. There can be medical benefits, but that statement's not approved by the FDA. Thank you very much. And there are several websites about it, and you can actually get, I think there's a Udemy course about it. But one of the mudras I have learned is that you can put your hand in a relaxed OK symbol, finger and thumb touching, and these fingers, you do it with both of them, and then place them on your knees, not on the single knee, but on the knees, and that's to be ground. That's a grounding mudra. Another thing you can do is to place the tip of your tongue behind your teeth, like on the. I'm sitting here doing it so I can describe it. That it The tip of your tongue is sitting on the hard palate behind your teeth, and that's another grounding physicality you can do. And I think tapping would help too. I'm getting that too. Is that you can tap. I don't know anything about EFT. For me, that's an electronic funds transfer, and that's not what we're talking about here. It's the emotional freedom technique. That's what we're doing. It's that thesaurus. It's that
Check the
thesaurus
comment box below to say
Yeah.
or
See
where
if
you
your
can
electronic
send.
funds transfer has happened for you today.
Oh my gosh. Emotional freedom technique is what it's called. Oh my gosh. We delve into the financial. We're not talking about law of attraction today, my dear. That's funny.
On to
Back
the
and grounded.
topic list. And I feel this thing is really good. I don't know anything else but that I do a lot of this stuff intuitively. And so right now they're having me tap on either side of the sternum. And for me, I think that's going to be grounding and help me get my head out of the clouds.
Yeah.
Good save. Good save
yeah,
there.
Yeah.
Kim.
I was like,
Good-
woo,
good save.
we're about approaching territory. Careful.
PG-13.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay, about to
So, yeah.
overshare. No, don't do that. So yeah, there are a lot of things, and I feel that it's important again to tune into how your body feels about it. Yeah, if you can go outside and put your feet on the ground or do yoga poses. There are a lot of yoga ones. I've got a podcast one on that one too. When you're talking about the root chakra, there are a lot of yoga poses that I don't remember because I don't yoga. But these were the ones that were easiest for me to know and to remember.
Yeah, so there's
Anything else?
there's lots and lots of techniques for grounding, and you can Google a bunch of stuff and see what you come up with, and just find one that works for you, because there are ones that work better outside. If you're a person who likes to be outside, of course use the grounding ones outside. If you're a person who, like me, likes to stay inside most of the time, there are techniques for that as well. I mean, I tend to use a lot of visualizations. So for me, that works just fine. And it doesn't matter if I'm on the 50th floor or if I'm on the second floor. I can find a way to ground, because I will send energy straight down through this, the floor that's below me. So you have to figure out not just the method, but also the depth to which you need to go. I met a guy this weekend who literally, when I, checked out his energy with his permission, it felt like he literally had roots in like several feet down in the ground. And he has the ability to communicate with trees. It's really interesting.
Nice. Okay,
Um,
so this is a question that has always bugged me. You talk about shooting your energy into the earth.
mhm.
Is it different when you're laying down? I have struggled with that for years. So is maybe I'm just getting spun up around it, but do I send the energy out through my feet and make it take a turn into the earth, or do I send it from my backside? Does it matter?
Well, it's, if you're using visualization, because I've done this with a client. Like, I was working with somebody who, it was like there was so much stuff that needed to be cleared off. What I did is I basically, like, I saw, like, visualize like this pool of lava, and you can see it as dirt if you want to, however, whatever your visualization works, and just immerse.
Okay.
And so it's like, you could look at it as like, I'm taking a mud bath or whatever, like, however you want to see that, however that makes you comfortable. You may want to do, like, I know, I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Irish, the thing where you lay on the ground and then, like, the vines cover you, kind of deal, until you're like in a cocoon of like the greenery. It could be something like that as well.
Cool.
Whatever. So, like I said, find the thing that makes you most comfortable. So if you, like, I usually just, down through the soles of my feet and like straight down to the earth. But if I was laying down, yeah, I would probably do the immersion thing.
Okay,
That's
cool.
interesting.
Thank you.
Good question, Susie, because I had a similar one, but I was trying not to get too wrapped up into it. So when I would lay down in the evening, right, as I'm drifting off to sleep, I would reground. And so just as you described, the roots would shoot out my feet and then go down. And then I would shoot out. So I would go around the core, and then I would shoot out 3 more, one for air, one for fire, and one for water, to really help ground and replenish myself.
Cool. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. You really, now I can rest.
Now we can all take virtual mud baths.
And now I have finally heated up. So there, I feel like I've caught up to the group now. Y'all are there having your water, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm here. I'm good.
I may have to do the Vine shrine too, so that I can say I am Groot. Sorry, I had to. I didn't want to interrupt, but I'm like, I gotta say it. We are Groot.
Of course. Oh my God.
I know. I know. Phew. All right. So, Susie, so when it comes to grounding, can I do some meditations with that? Do you use meditations for your grounding?
I do. Part of the podcast thing was to have thoughts on Thursdays and then meditations on Mondays. So on the podcast, you can, search for whatever. And then not only will you get the basics of a topic, then that following episode is going to be a meditation in which I guide you through it. And generally, that meditation is bringing Mother Earth energy up through your feet and through your body, clearing stuff, and then bringing in source. And the more you practice it, yeah, it's all lovely to have somebody talk you through it. But what I want to do is to have you do it often enough so that you can go, okay, I can do this. I'm good. Let's go. So it just takes practice, like we've been saying. But it also includes clearing, which is another component of all of this.
So today we have covered energy and grounding, and we'd love for you to check us out next week, where we are going to talk about clearing as well as shields and a few exercises that you can do at home. So stay tuned for Mystic Mosaic Podcast and have a great day. Until next time, stay grounded, stay shielded, stay magical.